The latest Avengers super movie is about to take the world by storm in the next few days, as the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been leading up to this exact moment. It's unbelievable to realize that it all started a decade ago when Iron Man roared into theaters, injecting new life to the superhero genre, thus establishing the foundation of future Marvel pictures. And yet, here we are after 18 action-packed films in the series that have all helped to culminate to this exact moment. Now, if you're like us watching the films, you might have a keen eye for some of the nifty gadgets that our heroes have wielded through the 18 films that have spanned the Marvel Cinematic Universe. From time to time though, we see some of these heroes specifically pick up a few phones, and we can't help to just look at them a little bit closer to uncover their identities. Some of them are actually based on real-life gadgets that are readily sold, while others are merely props from the imagination. So in this piece, we're going to take a look at some of those phones featured in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Believe us when we tell you that some of them are rather surprising. Now let's get started with the list, which is set in chronological order to match the timeline of the movies. Ah yes, it was back in 2008 when Iron Man took us all by surprise in being the genre-defying movie that changed things dramatically. In this movie, our scene in question comes early on as Tony Stark is being escorted in the desert by a military convoy, when all of a sudden, they come under attack. As Stark attempts to find cover, he whips out his phone, an LG VX9400 of all things, in an attempt to probably find help, only to realize the rocket-propelled grenade that lands next to him is from his company. Technically a multimedia-centric feature phone, Verizon, unique for its swivel display, we're more shocked by the realization that it's working outside of the US, given how it's a CDMA phone locked into Verizon's network. For the follow-up film, Iron Man 2, released in 2010, it was yet again LG who was one of the sponsors for the movie. This time, however, rather than sporting a real-life LG phone, billionaire Tony Stark was instead rocking a futuristic transparent phone from LG made specifically for the film. Using it throughout the movie, the most impressive cameo came in the courtroom scene, when Starks takes it out to somehow hack into the courtroom's computer system, which he then proceeds to play classified videos on the monitor. When you're a billionaire with an almost unlimited cash flow, this translucent LG phone definitely speaks volumes to your status level. In 2012's superhero all-star cast, The Avengers, the only notable phone used in the film was an LG Lotus Elite LX610, a clamshell-style phone known for its odd squarish shape. Used by one of the interrogators keeping Natasha Romanoff captive, also known as the Black Widow, it suddenly rings unexpectedly during the interrogation to everyone's surprise. Next thing we know, it's Agent Coulson on the other end of the line, asking to speak with Natasha. After wrapping up the conversation, she quickly dispatches her captors with no problems at all. LG might have been the phone sponsor for the first 3 Marvel Cinematic Universe films on our list, but for the 4th one here, it's being switched up in favor of Alcatel. In Iron Man 3, which was released in 2013, Alcatel landed the sponsorship for the movie, so its phones were featured throughout the film. In one particular scene where Tony Stark is surrounded by the press and threatens the Mandarin, we can see someone right in front of Tony recording him with an Alcatel One-Touch Idol. Unfortunately for the guy, Starks abruptly snags the phone at the end of the recording and chucks it towards a wall. We really hope he got insurance with that one.
That's what you wanted, right? Kill me.
If you watch Captain America's second solo outing, 2014's Winter Soldier, you might have noticed that HTC had a huge presence throughout the film. In one particular scene towards the film's climactic ending, we see Alexander Pierce, played by none other than Robert Redford, who is holding the Black Widow hostage while holding what appears to be an HTC One X Plus. It's evident by the distinctive red accented menu buttons. It's a quick cameo for the phone, as Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury soon hands his former friend and mentor a deadly blow. Samsung was one of the sponsors for 2014's The Avengers Age of Ultron, which saw quite a few of the company's products. Similar to what Tony Stark was wielding in Iron Man 2, this time it's a transparent Samsung smartphone of some kind being used throughout the film by our hero. It's honestly really tough to discern this over the LG one used in Iron Man 2, since there's no branding whatsoever, but we will certainly say that these futuristic concepts are no doubt slick. Later on in the film, however, we see the Black Widow using a clearly visible Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, or possibly the S6 Edge Plus. Chinese smartphone maker Vivo secured the sponsorship for 2016's Captain America Civil War, which pitted Tony Stark against Captain America, while tearing apart the Avengers in the process. Vivo's smartphones were featured throughout the film, but it was Tony Stark's phone that once again got the most interest. Part of this was because, much like the previous phones he has wielded in the Marvel films before, it's a cool, futuristic, transparent one, with of course the Vivo branding on it. It's seen throughout the movie, but we get a closer look at it when he meets the web crawler for the very first time in his queen's home.
What do you know? Look at you go. Wow, nice catch. 3,000 pounds, 40 miles an hour. It's not easy. Got mad skills.
That's all on YouTube though, right? I mean, that's where you found it.
At the conclusion of Captain America Civil War, we see Tony Stark reflecting after reading a letter written by Steve Rogers after their climactic confrontation. With the Avengers broken into two factions, Steve Rogers addresses Tony Stark by letting him know that despite their differences and feud, he'll still be there no matter what.
The Avengers are yours, maybe more so than mine. I've been on my own since I was 18. I never really fit in anywhere.
Included with his letter to Tony is a generic flip phone, which is tough to distinguish because there's no branding. However, we suspect it to be none other than a Samsung flip phone for straight talk. And you know what? It makes sense he'd give him a prepaid phone.
So no matter what, I promise you, if you need us, if you need me, I'll be there.
Doctor Strange's first appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was no doubt memorable given the mystical and magical nature of the film's departure. Now, you would think that a world-renowned doctor would be wielding something more recognizable for his daily driver, but as we see in the clip when Stephen Strange is driving his fancy Lamborghini, it's actually an Honor 8 smartphone of all things being used by the good doctor. For someone who has probably generated a substantial amount of income, you really wouldn't think it'd be the phone he'd actually go for. Considering that it was distributed by Sony Pictures, it's no surprise that Sony Xperia smartphones were featured throughout 2017's Spider-Man Homecoming, which featured Tom Holland's version of Marvel's fabled web crawler. From Peter Parker seen using an Xperia smartphone to watch a YouTube video, to his prom date using another one as a mirror, and even some of the bad guys using one, Sony's Xperia phones were in full force throughout the film. Then again, this shouldn't come as a shocker being a Sony Pictures movie and all. And that is it for this video, guys. I hope you liked it. Those were just some of the phones featured in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie so far. And if you watch the Avengers Infinity War trailer, you'll see at a certain point Tony Stark's again holding another phone. It appears to be a flip phone of some kind. It could be the same exact one we see at the end of Captain America Civil War, or maybe something else. Who knows? But obviously, we'll find out soon enough. So if you guys want to learn more about any of the stuff I talked about in this video, you could check out our website, PhoneArena.com. This is John B, signing off.